Katheryn, why don't you tell me your experiences at the Tour of the GIla, and especially last year where you finished third?
Yeah, this will be my fourth year doing the Tour of the GIla. It's one of my favorite races just because the altitude and the climbing really make it challenging. Last year I had a good ride the first day up Mogollon, finished behind Kristen Armstrong, and then just held my position in the inner loop stage, worked hard for Gina Grain, who ended up winning the stage last year. The time trial, unfortunately, I didn't have my best time trial. Slipped to third place overall. Allison Powers put in a phenomenal ride. And then, the crit and the Pinos Altos day. Tried to get some time on Allison, but she's a tough fighter. So ended up finishing third overall, and considering who I shared the podium with, I felt pretty happy with my performance.
So how tough is the course itself, and what about the conditions? It's very windy right now, so I assume that's going to continue all week.
Yeah, the wind, the altitude, I'd say, as someone coming from sea level, is the most challenging thing. The benefit of having done this race for 4 years, I know the courses. I think there's part of me in my brain that always forgets how hard Mogollon is. In your mind you have an idea of what the climb is, and then you hit it and you're like, oh, that's right. It just keeps going up. But again, as I said, the altitude, the heat is really hard. Trying to stay hydrated, both on and off the bike is really important. And wind, I find the wind doesn't start picking up until a little bit later in the day, so with earlier starts, hopefully we'll luck out.
All right, so let's talk about Mogollon. It seems that the break always goes on that stage. Is that correct?
Yeah, the last couple of years the break has gone. Last year we had Rebecca Munch, who was racing for us in the break, and that was great. She's a strong climber. She held off most of the peloton. Got caught by Kristen on the second part of Mogollon, and helped pace me for a bit. And I think the peloton's willing to let a break go just because they know that it does come down to that final climb.
Okay, and is there a chance it would be caught? What do you think is going to happen this year?
Yeah, it's always interesting. I haven't seen a full complete list. I know the team. I do believe that this year is the strongest and deepest team for the women, field the women have had for the teams. I know that Peanut Butter has a strong team, Colavita, Tibco, Vera Bradley, and ourselves. And there's also really strong regional riders from the area, and then the smaller women's teams are sending some strong riders. I think again a break. We always want to race aggressively. Not just let it come down to the final hill, but if we can get a rider up the road, help the climbers out, it's fun.
All right, and the second stage seems to be a bunch sprint, actually.
Yeah, that climb up to Pinos Altos. Last year, Kristen Armstrong went to the front and drilled it. We got a pretty selective group going up and over. The descent is really technical. For me, number one is safety first. There's some sharp corners on that. But once we hit the valley floor, rolling through there, we tend to come back together. A break usually gets off, but usually comes back together coming into town on 152. It's a good opportunity for the sprinters to, if they make it up over Pinos Altos and through the valley, a good day for the sprinters.
All right, and then there's the time trial right after. So tell me about the time trial.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have a little bit of redemption from the time trial last year. Again, the altitude by the third day, I always feel at altitude like you have fewer punches in your ticket, and it tends to be a little bit windy. Last year it was, if I remember correctly, in years past it was a headwind going out, tailwind coming back. Last year it was a tailwind going out and a headwind coming back. And that always makes it challenging in terms of pacing. Today when I pre-rode it was a headwind going out, tailwind coming back. So, the wind definitely plays a role. And it's a hard time trial. It's, close to 18 miles.
16.
So, 16 miles. It feels like 18. Good, I'm glad
16.2.
16.2. But I mean, as people always say, the time trial is the race of truth, and it really, you can't have a bad day on a time trial. You just have to keep your head and your legs in it and hope for the best.
And then, there's the crit where you hope to stay safe.
Correct. Yeah, this is a pretty safe course. I'll say that you get a lot of speed going into the corner 4, into the stretch, but I feel like the women do a really good job of, playing safe. None of us get paid enough to take risks, and it's a fun crit. The crowds are always great, and I have a lot of fun with crits.
And then the final stage, the big one.
Yeah, for us, we don't go up over the cliff dwellings like the men, but it's still, it's the 5th day of racing at altitude and hard racing, and that climb up Pinos Altos. We kind of get a preview of it when we descend down on the inner loop day. And similar to Mogollon, as I said before, it's like, in the back of your mind, you kind of erase those memories of how hard that climb is. I just remember, I think the last 50 meters, the into Pinos Altos, to the finish, you just want it to be over. And if the GC is tight, with time bonuses, I don't know if there's time bonuses, but anytime there's a hilltop finish, you can lose a lot of time in the last kilometer. And again, with a strong peloton out there for the women, I think it's going to be 5 good days of racing.
So do you wish you guys were going up to cliff dwelling?
No. I do because of the epicness of it. I don't, doing a harder, longer race may not always be best for women because oftentimes it takes away from, people get scared or they get hesitant, so they save things. I also have heard that the descent coming back in is really dangerous. Unfortunately, I know there have been probably crashes every year in the men's race, which is, it's tough. I think women, we always want to feel like we can do the same thing as the men, yet I feel like the race promoter does a good job of providing us with really good courses so that we can race aggressively, race strong, and have a good race.
Yeah. So I think there are other tricky descents, right, on the other stages, however. So.
On the inner loop stage, that descent into the valley floor is tricky. So it's, again, for me, safety first. Part of me feels now at 36 years old, I'm not willing to take the same risks. And, I've had 5 broken collarbones, and I like to keep them intact.
And let's not go for 6.
No.
All right, so, like you mentioned, there's a very strong field this year.
Yes.
And everybody seems to be in tip-top shape coming into the race. So, what's your form like, and how do you rank up your chances?
I feel pretty good. I came off of a 3rd place overall finish at the Roadrunner Classic, which was a great first-time race. The promoter, Charlie, did a great job. It would be great to see that race grow over the years, and I think it was great prep for me just to get some racing in before GIla at altitude. I've gotten some good training in. I was happy with my 3rd place finish at Sea Otter. We've had a bit of a break between this and from Redlands to now. With climbers like Mara Abbott, and she has a really strong peanut butter team here. I mean, she's built for this race. It's at altitude, there's climbing, she comes from Boulder. So, but you also have strong Vera Bradley with Allison Powers. She finished 2nd here, and she's rocking it at the time trial right now. I feel good. I mean, we have a smaller squad. We have 6 riders, 4 full-time Webcor riders, including myself, and then we brought on Ange McClure, who's a 19-year-old Australian, and then Amy Dabrowski is guest riding for us. I kind of laugh when I say guest because she was with the team last year, but made the choice to go to Luna and race mountain bike this year, but it'll be great to have her on the team.
All right, perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah.